Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So it has finally happened. Every time I do these sort of videos, I always get people in the comments saying, why don't the women just refuse? Why do the girls show up? Why don't they just walk away? Why don't they just refuse to play against a male athlete? Well, it has finally happened. Not just once, not just twice, but at least 3 teams have refused to play against San Jose State University, the team that has a trans-identified male, Blair Fleming. So just to refresh your memory, it all started with Southern Utah State University refusing to play against San Jose. They didn't say why. There was no statement released as to the reason. But that didn't stop people congratulating them, praising them for cancelling the match. All they did was confirm that the match has been cancelled and that the game is therefore forfeited. And before people start, nobody's saying that trans-identified people are not allowed to play sports, they're not allowed to participate. Nobody is saying that. All people are asking for is that they participate in the correct category. We know that categories exist in sports, they have always existed in sports, and the need for categories don't magically disappear just because of identity. The need for categories don't magically disappear just because somebody's on hormones or whatever medications. And in a lot of these cases, there's no requirement for any of that. All that's required is that the person declares themselves the opposite sex, declares themselves to be a woman. But the fact is they are not female and they're not the same as the female players. Whether a woman is tall, short, black, white, she is still female. And that's what categories are based on when it comes to sports. Now, we have seen that women have been injured as a result of playing against trans-identified males, as a result of playing against teams who have trans-identified males.
Tell us your story. What happened?
So about a year ago, I was severely injured in a high school volleyball game by a biological male on the opposing team. I suffer from long-lasting effects, including impaired vision, partial paralysis on my right side, memory loss, and much more. I'm slowly recovering, but I'm still in the recovery process.
But you were unable to play your final season, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Categories exist for the inclusion of women, because without categories, there would be no women's sports. There also wouldn't be no Paralympics, sports for 80-year-olds, lightweight division in boxing. It's all for inclusion. So when you say that a male athlete can compete in the women's category, that person directly leads to the exclusion of women, whether it's because a male athlete took your place, took your victory, injured you, and you can't play anymore, or took your scholarship. That all leads to women getting excluded. So thankfully, these schools are standing up for their girls. They're standing up for women's sports. And what's so great about this example is these girls are being backed by state governors. They're being backed by their coaches. They're being backed by their schools. It makes a huge difference when you are supported by people who are in positions of power, when you're supported by the adults. So this team has a trans-identified male, and the biological sex of this person was kept hidden. According to reports, this information was not divulged, not only to other teams, but even to the people who play on the same team as this person. At least one teammate of this person has come forward and said that they were not informed, even to the point where they were sharing hotel rooms with this person. They were rooming with this person, and they had no idea that this person was male. If you think it's okay for women to be tricked into sharing hotel rooms with male athletes, for women to be made to play against teams with male athletes against their consent, if you think that's okay, then don't claim to be for women's rights. If you think it's okay for women to be put at risk, because the chances of them getting injured when playing against male athletes is greater. That's just fact. A ball being spiked and hitting a female can do a lot more damage when it is a male behind that spike who hits harder than the average female athlete. The severity of injury is more likely to be greater as well. So Brooks Lusser, she is teaming up with Riley Gaines and a lot of other female athletes who are suing the NCAA for breach of Title IX. So even the teammates of this person are not happy with having a male on their team. In women's volleyball, it affects them when it comes to training, because when you're training, you compete against one another. So even though this person is on their team, their safety is still at risk. And Brooks said that this person, in no uncertain terms, hits harder than the females, jumps higher than the females. And you know that in women's volleyball, the net is lower. So you've got a 6'1" male playing in women's volleyball with a lower net and all the advantages that this person has just for being male. You have two athletes, male and female. The male athlete is more than likely going to outperform the female. This is just common sense. And the cross-sex hormones and various medications does not change somebody's biology. So just by way of being male, this person has an advantage. And even with no advantage, males do not belong in women's sports. It's very simple. Brooke estimates that Fleming's spikes were traveling upwards of 80 miles per hour, which was faster than she had ever seen a woman hit a volleyball. The girls were doing everything they could to dodge Fleming's spikes, but still could not fully protect themselves. And her lawyer said, one thing that's important in this case is really the physical safety issues in volleyball. And that's what they're facing in practice every day. So, it's just a crazy, misguided policy that steals athletic dreams from women and gives them to men. And, at the same time, puts women's health and safety in danger. That sums it up perfectly. And the record of SJSU speaks for itself. At the beginning of the season, they started off with an 8-0 record. They'd only dropped 4 sets out of 28, and Fleming has the second most total kills on the team, which is 103. In a recent match, Fleming's received all tournament honours. This team has gone undefeated. Is it any wonder when they have a male athlete on their team? So Boise State Athletics confirmed their decision in a statement on Saturday not to compete against San Jose State University. So they said Boise State Volleyball would not play its scheduled match at San Jose State on Saturday, September 28. Per Mountain West Conference policy, the conference will record the match as a forfeit and a loss for Boise State. The Broncos will next compete on October 3 against Air Force. And Idaho Governor Brad Little commended the team for forfeiting the match. I applaud Boise State for working within the spirit of my executive order, the Defending Women's Sports Act. We need to ensure player safety for all of our female athletes and continue to fight for fairness in women's sports. So Boise State was the second school to opt out of playing against SJSU amid controversy surrounding a member of the women's volleyball team. So Blair Fleming is a redshirt senior at San Jose State University, plays as an outside and right side hitter on the women's volleyball team. Fleming is transgender and has played 3 seasons at SJSU after previously playing at Coastal Carolina. And I believe this person left that school because the state where this school is basically banned transgender athletes competing in women's categories. So Fleming moved on to San Jose. Which brings me to the University of Wyoming. They too released a statement saying that they are forfeiting the match against SJSU. Now it appears that this university perhaps had a change of heart, because initially they said that they were going to continue to play, including against San Jose, and that their players were not worried about safety, that their players were fine with it. This is what they initially said. According to Cowboy State Daily, they said the athletic department, administration, coaching staff recently discussed the matter with the entire women's volleyball team, including any potential safety concerns. Chad Baldwin, a Wyoming spokesman, told the outlet via email last week. No student athletes expressed any concern regarding their safety. So that was their initial response upon hearing of Southern Utah, cancelling their match. But then they issued a statement announcing that they're forfeiting the match against SJSU. After a lengthy discussion, the University of Wyoming will not play its scheduled conference match against San Jose State University in the Uni-Wyo Sports Complex on Saturday, October 5. Per Mountain West Conference policy, the conference will record the match as a forfeit and a loss for Wyoming. The Cowgirls will host Fresno State on Thursday, October 3 at 6:30 p.m. in the Uni-Wyo Sports Complex. So that says it all. That says it all. They don't have to go into any details. They're just not playing. And then the governor, Mark Gordon, offered his support and praise for the team for cancelling the match. So he said, "I am in full support of the decision by Wire Athletics to forego playing its volleyball match against San Jose State. It is important. We stand for integrity and fairness in female athletics." So this is absolutely wonderful news, and it's really great to hear the governors of these states getting behind the girls and supporting them in their decision. The schools are supporting the girls as well, and it's really wonderful to see. So yes, San Jose State University's record is now 10-0. They still go on undefeated this season. And San Jose has responded. They sent a statement to Outkick, responding to all the match cancellations. And this is what they had to say. "It is disappointing that our SJSU student athletes, who are in full compliance with NCAA and Mountain View rules and regulations, are being denied opportunities to compete. We are committed to supporting our student athletes through these challenges and in their ability to compete in an inclusive, fair, safe, and respectful environment." And the Mountain West Conference, they have actually been largely silent on the issue, but they are taking notice that all these cancellations are going to affect their tournament. They may have to reconsider things because this is actually going to have an impact, especially if more teams follow suit and begin cancelling matches. So the female player who didn't make the team because her spot was taken by a male player, this school doesn't care about her inclusion. The safety of the young girls who are in fear of being in line of a spike that this player is behind doesn't seem to matter to this school either. So I find it very rich that they're talking about safety and fairness and inclusion when it seems perfectly okay for the girls to be excluded, for their safety to be put at risk. This is the very reason why these schools are cancelling the match against this school, because no girl should have to play against a male athlete in a women's competition, and they certainly should not be put in positions that are against their consent. They shouldn't be put in this situation to begin with. And now they're having to forfeit games. And this school didn't even have the courtesy, according to reports, to inform the female athletes that they have a male player on their team. This school didn't even give the female athletes that courtesy. Even if you want to explain that this person is trans-identifying and maybe on hormones, which we don't know, even if you want to explain that to them. Don't tell them absolutely nothing and have them sharing rooms with somebody who is male and will always be male. Those young girls have a right to know that. And it's very, very disturbing that these schools, these sporting bodies, they're not even revealing the fact that these athletes are male now. They're keeping it from the female athletes. There's been a lot of athletes come forward saying that they were competing against a man and they didn't even know it. That's disturbing. That's very, very scary to me. And we have questions about whether this person has a scholarship, whether this person has taken a scholarship away from a female athlete. If you play so well in a women's competition, more than likely you're going to get offers of scholarships. You're going to have opportunities to get an athletic scholarship. And now women are being told that they have to accept that they're going to have fewer opportunities for scholarships because a male athlete may just get it. As long as he identifies as a woman, though, that makes it okay, right? No. Get back to reality. Sports has categories, and the minute those categories are blurred, there is no women's sports anymore. Once we start blurring categories, once we start saying that male athletes can compete in women's categories, that is going to destroy women's sports. Because if there are no categories, women can't be included in sports. Just like if there wasn't age categories, people of a certain age wouldn't be able to compete in sports, not competitively. If there weren't weight categories, lightweights, for example, wouldn't be able to compete in boxing because boxing would just be full of heavyweights. So if you care about inclusion, you should want to preserve categories. But a lot of TRAs don't. We've seen that. They're perfectly happy to do away with categories.
To be clear then, in the Olympics, you would have just, open Olympics?
Open season.
Sex is irrelevant? Gender irrelevant? Everyone just competes against each
absolutely.
other?
I would too.
Really? So do you understand?
Well, everyone just can.
Eli, do you understand that by doing that, you literally end the Olympics? It's all over because only men would win. Do you understand that? That's why we separate them.
I don't want to take this down.
No, hang on. I want Eli to respond. You literally are destroying the Olympics for anyone who's not a man.
And see women erased from sports altogether. As long as a trans-identifying male gets what they want though, right? So when it was announced that Boise were pulling out of a match, these were the comments. Good. Don't play their game. Not worth it. All of them should do that. Winners don't cheat. I'm very proud of them too. Men don't belong in women's sports, period. I'm a proud Idahoan. With all the problems in the world, this isn't one of them. When you live in a state full of white people, this is the biggest problem. This is part of the root cause of many problems we are experiencing today. Accepting and normalizing mental illness is a huge problem. Riley Gaines announced Wyoming's cancelling of the match too. She said, "Let's go." University of Wyoming is the third school to forfeit their match against SJSU because they have a man on their women's team. This is the way. Do not comply. Major kudos to YO Volleyball, Bronco Sports VB, and SUU Volleyball. This is big. This is the effective way to boycott the failed, irrational, anti-science, misogynistic policies of the NCAA, the Mountain West Conference, and San Jose State University. 3 boycotts. The NCAA is causing intrastate controversy. It's past time they support female athletes, not pander to men who have big LGBTQ and the Democrats holding their hands. I've been waiting years to see this courage and unity. Keep it up, ladies. Women supporting women. This is the way to win. So there are always going to be mixed reactions, but overall, this is very encouraging. And this is not the first time we have had women refuse to compete. Let's remember that. We've had young women, young girls refuse to compete. And we've had women who just quietly refused to show up, who just didn't want to participate, who didn't want anything to do with this. And nobody knows their names because it wasn't reported. But they've ended up jeopardizing their careers as a result. So I hope more schools follow suit and also refuse to compete against SJSU. As you can see, they're totally unrepentant. And like they said, we haven't broken any rules. We're just following what the NCAA allows. So I hope the courts are taking notice. This is the result of reckless policies, misogynistic policies that seem to put the women last. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Take care of yourselves, and God willing, I will see you in the next video.